I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days.
All right, all right. Welcome, all my garden enthusiasts and passionate plant people to the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today, and we've got a really great show for you ahead today here on our Sunday edition of the show. We've got joining with us Destin from the Texas Garden Guy and Phil from Phil's Figs, and they'll be joining with us here just a little bit on the show. And we'll talk all about their podcast, the Garden Party podcast, and all the sort of things they've got growing on this year. Been looking forward to this conversation, and hope you do too here. So stick around for this just a little bit later in the show. And of course, everybody, if you can, definitely click that like button, click the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button as well as the bell notification so you can be notified of our upcoming videos and live streams. And of course, be sure to share with all of your garden friends out there and let them know about the Let's Get Growing show every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, again, here on the Urban Gardener channel. And also, big, huge shout out to all of you who are watching our replay. Thank you so much for taking your time to join with us here. And if you can, definitely get down into the comment section below and leave some comments. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know if you know or want to see any certain guests on the show. I'm always up for some great suggestions, as well as any other questions or comments or anything, or just say hi. Great to hear from all of you. So definitely jump into the comments below. And if you do have any questions or comments, if you're here with us live right now, definitely get into the chat there as well. And let us know you're here. Let us know what you got growing on. And if you got any questions for our guests later on as well, too, put those into our chat. Only thing we ask is that you put them in nice, bold, capital letters so that I can tell the difference between a question and the regular conversation. It really makes it a little bit easier, and we just might feature it on the show. And also, we have lots of great links right down below in the description as well to all of our guests as well too. So definitely check out those links and go check out what they've got growing on as well too. So again, great to all have you all here with us this weekend. And we've had already a really great time. Yesterday on the show, we featured Wendy Fan from Wendyland joined with us yesterday. Another fun, great conversation with Wendy. Wendy was our very first guest of the show. In fact, she was one of those first interviews that I got to do when I was starting my channel years ago. So it was great to catch up with her again. Although I did see her just a couple of weeks ago at the National Heirloom Exposition, but it was great to catch up with her on the show with all of you as well. And yesterday we were following Leighton Morrison from It's All About the Biology. Leighton has a great channel where they just really dig into some of this really awesome science, soil science, and all of that sort of stuff. And if we as gardeners know that really everything really starts with the soil when it comes down to growing a really good garden. And so really fun to talk with Leighton, and hopefully we'll get him back on the show to talk about some more of that soil science. He's really knowledgeable about all of that. And also, if you didn't catch last week's shows, last week was just really awesome. We kind of took a little, a break, not really a break, but, from gardening in a way. We kind of incorporated a little bit in there, but we talked with a bunch of beekeepers. We had a really fun beekeeping weekend on the show last week. And on our Saturday show, we had with us Cayman Reynolds from Tennessee's Bees. And that was a really great conversations, so much to learn. And again, I'm really new to the idea of beekeeping at all. And it was just really so fun to talk with these beekeepers this last week, and especially Cayman. He's got a really great channel. He's also the founder of the North American Beekeepers Expo. And we talked all about that and all these different kinds of honey that I never even knew. You think, honey, I've seen some lighter ones, some darker ones, but he was talking about all of these different types of honey profiles that were just really amazing. So you'll want to catch that conversation as well. We were also following last Saturday, Jonathan Hargis from the Hive Doctor. So another great conversation with him as well. And on our Sunday show, we talked with Larissa Kwozak from Beekeeping Made Simple. And that was a fun conversation too. All around the weekend was just really great, talking about bees. And as I said, I haven't really gotten too far into this fascination with bees throughout my gardening experience up until this last week when we did this weekend. I went to go visit our Southern Oregon Beekeepers Association, and we featured that video on last week's Sunday edition as well. And I got to put on a bee suit for the very first time. I got to get out there and check out all these really great hives and bees just flying all around me. And it was just really, really fun. And I was really kind of surprised about how comfortable I really was in that situation. So it was great. So I know I'm ready for the next level of beekeeping, but there's a lot to learn when it comes to doing that. So definitely check out some of those episodes last week if you were interested in learning a little bit more about beekeeping as well too. And also I do want to start promoting this here right now. Is we do each and every year, we've done well before I started the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener. We have gathered together, I don't know, maybe about 5 years now in a row or so, each and every Halloween. We get together for a fun night of just a Halloween hangout, basically, where we're just hanging out, handing out treats to all the neighborhood kids and all of that. And so we get together for a fun evening of watching one of my favorite movies, theater, musical theater, The Little Shop of Horrors. We watched the original 1960 classic of The Little Shop of Horrors. And then after that, and after some discussion and everything, we also watch a really great theatrical version of Little Shop of Horrors. And again, just a really fun tradition for us here on the Urban Gardener channel. So you'll want to check that out and come join with us. I do have on our video homepage, it's already up there, so you can hit that notify button. So it'll notify you as we get closer to that Halloween hangout. And just a really bit of fun. The original 1960 classic Little Shop of Horrors by Roger Corman also features one of Jack Nicholson, and it was one of his very first movies that he did. And we're really fortunate that Roger Corman didn't get his copyright for the Little Shop of Horrors. So it's public domain, which means we're allowed to actually play that and watch that. So it's really fun that we get to do that. And again, just a really great hangout as well too. So lots and lots of great things going on here on the Let's Get Growing show. We've got some great shows coming up next week as well too. So be sure to go to our channel homepage and check all of those out as well too. Lots and lots of things growing on as well too here in the garden, and things are just going and going. Usually right now things are starting to really cool down, and even though our nights are getting just a little bit cooler, we are still really warm. I checked our 10-day forecast earlier before the show, and literally 10 days out from now, which is I think would be like October 9th or so, we're still in the 80s here in Southern Oregon. That's really amazing for us that our summer is lasting that long. And and all of the garden plants out there just really loving it still and producing a bunch. I showed a clip yesterday of our peppers that we're growing. I'm still pulling off tons and tons of peppers off of our pepper plants. Tomatoes are like crazy right now, which is great because during the heat of the summertime we're not able to get as many of those off of our plants. because of the, it just gets too hot for those tomato plants to really be producing like they should. So we kind of got to produce them as much as we can before the heat of the summer sets in, and then we get our second crop coming, in this time of year. And the tomato plants are actually going like crazy right now. They're putting off a bunch of flowers still, so we'll see how many of those actually form some tomatoes that we can harvest a little bit later on. So looking forward to that. I did pull out a couple of watermelons that came out of the garden that were, as much as we've got all of these vines and everything, this is a really viney year for me. Lots of cucumbers, lots of watermelons, cantaloupes, squash, all that sort of stuff growing everywhere. So we got vines all over the place. So, that's one of the things that you could look forward to in a situation like that, is a bunch of hidden fruits hiding down in places that you weren't expecting to find them. And so I found a couple of really good watermelons, these really great sugar babies that we were growing out of our back patio area. So we got those out of the garden, and just lots of stuff. And then again too, like I was saying, with all them vines and everything, I got a lot of work ahead of me here coming up too, as those start to die off here, as the cooler season starts to come on. We got to pull some vines and get this garden space cleaned up and get it really transitioning into our fall and winter season, so we can get ready to start thinking about next year. I mean, I can't believe that this season is already at fall already. And yeah, again too, just lots and lots of things, lots and lots of things growing on here. So, all right, everybody, let's get moving along here. And as everybody knows, on Sunday, in our Sunday edition, we do have joining with us usually for our In the Garden. We have our friend Mark Roche Colbert from Urban Ag Solutions, my good friend from up in Portland, really great garden educator, and he usually does our In the Garden segment. And this week, what we're going to do is we're going to play a little promotion for a gardening course that Mark did. And we do have, again, links right down below in the description to Mark's course, Things They Didn't Teach You in Garden School.
Let's do a what if. What if you were running a marathon? Someone approaches you with some food midway through. In one hand is a buttered bagel, in the other a glucose gel pack. Which one do you take and why? Hopefully the answer is clear. You're going to take the glucose gel pack because its simple sugar molecules are usable immediately by your body, providing a net energy boost to your run, whereas the fats and complex starches of the buttered bagel will require energy first to break down before they yield their chemical energy back to the body. So let's translate that into plant ease. Many of your garden plants are running the equivalent of a garden marathon, a multi-season long haul dominated first by vegetative growth, then by, hopefully, an equally long season of harvestable product. Whether they are pumping out fruit like tomatoes, yes, that's botanically a fruit, or bulking up their vegetative bodies like celery, long-growing plants may need some extra oomph during their run to the finish. That's where liquid fertilizers come in, or liquid lunch, as I like to call them. Let's take a step back for a minute and think about how fertilizers operate. First of all, fertilizer provides nutrients, and nutrients are things plants need to grow. Surprisingly, a plant gets all of its most important components from water and air for free. No fertilizing required. Yep. Last time I checked, water and carbon dioxide were free, and from those a plant builds the carbohydrates which fuel its growth and which get combined to make structurally stable elements like woody tissue. So those would be the most abundant elements in plant bodies: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, all free for the taking, no fertilizer required. Beyond that, plants need 6 more elements called macronutrients in fairly large quantities. The 3 most significant being nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, followed by sulfur, calcium, and magnesium. In addition, they need 8 other elements called micronutrients in much smaller or minuscule quantities, and we're not going to worry about those here. Only the first three large quantity elements, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, will concern us. These may or may not be found in the soil, either in the mineral portion, the part made up of the ground rocks, or the organic portion, the part made up of the dead things that were once alive. If they are not there and the plant needs them, then guess what? The gardener needs to add them, which is called fertilizing. Another big reveal. In order for a plant to get a nutrient, it's got to be dissolved in water. That's the way a plant can grab it from the soil and send it on up to support vital functions. Let's review what it means to dissolve. When you have a minute, get 2 glasses of water. In one, drop a marble, paperclip, or pebble. In the other, a teaspoon of sugar or salt. Then stir each a bit with a spoon. I predict in all my garden wisdom that you will see the following happen. The marble, clip, or pebble will sink to the bottom of the glass, and no matter how much you stir it, it will remain a clearly visible and identifiable marble, clip, or pebble. The sugar or the salt will start to sink, some will seem to disappear, some will settle on the bottom of the glass, and with a little stirring it may all disappear. In addition, the water will discolor slightly or look somewhat different. At this point you're like, I paid $30 for this? No, this is just a reminder about what dissolving means so that you don't have illusions later about fertilizer. Get any fertilizer you want and do the same little experiment with another glass of water. Take a spoonful of the fertilizer, drop it into the glass of water, stir a couple of times and see what happens. Does all the fertilizer either sink to the bottom or float on the top while water remains mostly clear? Probably not a lot of dissolving going on there. And what might that mean for plants? It would mean that if you added this to the soil, plants could not get a hold of it right away because it is indissoluble or not soluble in water. If, on the other hand, some of the fertilizer seems to disappear as it's falling down and the water discolors slightly or a lot, you know that something has dissolved and that this fertilizer has the potential, at least, to be liquid lunch material. Provided what's dissolved is one of the needed plant nutrients, then it's conceivable that plants could be feeding on this stuff minutes, if not seconds, after applying. So as the plant is running its race, giving it soluble fertilizers are like giving a runner a glucose gel pack. Immediate payoff. And giving it insoluble fertilizers are like giving it a bagel, which must first be digested, in this case by soil microbes, before the nutrients become soluble and therefore usable by plants. Because you will earn the scorn of your housemates, spouse, partner, etc. if you go testing all your fertilizers in the supply of kitchen glassware, there is another way to decide what's soluble and what's not. There's a label on all fertilizers that tells you. Every package of fertilizer has printed on it, in addition to other material, the amount of the 3 most important plant nutrients that the plant can't get for free: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, in that order. In garden lingo, it's called the NPK numbers, and those numbers stand for the percentage by weight of that product in the whole fertilizer. So if I had a fertilizer with numbers like 511, like a jug of fish fertilizer, you can tell that it's got a lot of nitrogen, the N or first number, a little phosphorus, and a little potassium. If it were a 100-pound jug, it would have 5% or 5 pounds of nitrogen and 1% or 1 pound each of phosphorus and potassium. And if I had a fertilizer with numbers like 0120, that would contain lots of phosphorus, the middle letter P, and Zippo of N and K, the nitrogen and the potassium. Aha, gotcha. It's potassium, remember? Even though the chemical symbol is K. If the fertilizer company is responsible, they will clue you into how quickly the plants can get the nutrients by indicating how much of the nitrogen and potassium is soluble. Soluble phosphorus, for some reason, is described as available, but that's clear enough, I think. If it's available, it's soluble. If it's soluble, it's available. So now you have a little bit of a clue about what kinds of fertilizers plants can use immediately. The soluble ones, or ones that dissolve. Okay, real life problem. If you apply a fertilizer that's 8% nitrogen, but only 4% is listed as soluble, what happens to the other 4%? It's there in the soil in a form that will need to be broken down later by microbes into smaller molecules, which then will be able to dissolve in water. Generally, liquid fertilizers are good candidates for liquid lunches, and some dry fertilizers can be too, if they are highly soluble. Another thing we want to and need to know about fertilizers is how the various major elements support growth of various plant parts. Basically, with liquid lunch fertilizers, we're mainly going to ask an either-or question. Do we want the plant to produce mainly leafy parts, like lettuce or cabbage, or do we want the plant to produce flowers, fruit, or seeds, like tomatoes, peppers, or corn? If we want leaves, we're going to use a liquid fertilizer that's high in nitrogen, N. If we want fruit, flowers, or seeds, we're going to use a fertilizer that's higher in phosphorus, P, and with some supporting potassium, K. Sometimes over a plant's lifespan, we'll start with a nitrogen fertilizer to encourage a plant's leafy growth in the spring, then shift to a phosphorus-potassium fertilizer in the summer when it starts to bear fruit and seeds. That fish fertilizer I was talking about earlier, the 511, that's a great fertilizer for keeping lettuce growing strong during spring, summer, and early fall. It's all about the leaves with lettuce, so it's got to be all about the nitrogen with the lettuce fertilizer. I also personally love bat guano, especially for indoor use, because it delivers a soluble nitrogen boost without much burden to the nose, if you get my meaning. Now, how about something for peppers that are just starting to bear flowers and, hint, hint, flowers mean fruit are coming up. I use a 131 liquid fertilizer for peppers during the latter part of the season to allow them to focus on fruit production without stimulating a lot of new stem and leaf growth, which is the role of N. In this fertilizer, the 131, phosphorus in the middle is the heavy hitter, and that corresponds with the plant's use of it for fruit and seed production. One thing to notice is that even though all three elements may be present in a fertilizer, one will usually dominate, and that will influence what the fertilizer does. Where does liquid lunch fit into an overall soil fertility program? In my gardening, I apply solid granular fertilizers directly into the soil at the beginning of the season, something with balanced numbers like 4-3-2. But I know it may not be available to plants right away. In fact, I'm counting on it to be released slowly all season long. I supplement this background fertilizer with liquid lunch when I know conditions are not prime for microbes to digest and release nutrients. For example, in order for soil microbes to do their best digesting, soil temperatures need to be warm. You may remember that biological reactions are driven by enzymes, and enzyme activity is temperature dependent. In the cool spring and the cooling fall, soil temps may sink, and even if there's a lot of nitrogen in the soil, for example, bacteria and their enzymes may be on strike due to the cold and may not be liberating it into a soluble plant-friendly form. That's a great time for a nitrogen-heavy liquid lunch, which will ensure soluble nitrogen gets to your plants for strong leaf and stem growth. Later on, as I indicated, it may be time for a phosphorus liquid lunch. I do this for peppers in July, August, and September because I grow a lot of my peppers in 5-gallon pots, and that means that beyond their pot, they can't just rummage around the soil and get what they need. That's a point I want to reiterate for all container gardeners out there. When you garden in any kind of container, which so many people do and successfully do, you have a greater responsibility to manage nutrients. The longer the plant is in a pot, the more often you will need to feed, and liquid lunch on a regular schedule is just the thing for container gardening. If a plant seems to be indicating a deficiency of a particular nutrient, say yellowing leaves signaling perhaps a lack of nitrogen, I may give it an appropriate liquid lunch to see if I can correct the problem. Do be aware, however, that it can be hard to diagnose a deficiency correctly from just a single symptom, and thus the liquid lunch remedy might have no effect. Okay, you know your plant, you know your target plant part that you want to encourage, and you have a fertilizer with the appropriate numbers. Now look at the package and find the mixing directions. Liquid fertilizers are generally concentrated and need to be diluted to the correct level. With fertilizers, more is not necessarily better. Mix to the recommended dosage and apply at the interval specified. Gardeners are well advised to get a soil test and/or to apply a balanced organic fertilizer at the beginning of the season or at the beginning of the crop cycle. However, there are going to be times when your plants need a boost. The liquid lunch philosophy allows us to meet the plant right where it's at and give it what it needs to succeed. And if a plant running a fine race and committed to finish looks like it needs a quick energy glucose gel pack, would you give it a buttered bagel instead?
All right. Another great segment there from our good friend Mark Boucher Colbert in his course, Things They Didn't Teach You in Garden School. So if you want to get more of that course and learn a bit more from Mark, he's such a great educator and a great teacher. You'll check out the link down below to that as well too. So he's got lots of great videos there to check out all sorts of different things growing on in your garden. Right on. Well, let's catch up with everybody here. We got joining with us today. And we're just right off of the top here. Let's welcome Jay Dixon joining for us here, our facilitator for our chat, joining us from Ontario, Canada. Thank you, Jay, for joining with us. Thanks for all of your help with all the links and great information in our chat there, as well as our moderator from right up the road in Central Point here with me, Adam Burley. Thank you for joining with us. And of course, we got Serena here back again. It's awesome to see you. And Connie Davison joining with us today. Connie, it's great to see you as well. And Jersey Girl, awesome to see you here. And we got Darth X in the chat as well too. And he's like, I'm not into wild bees, or I'm into wild bees that I don't have to babysit, as I was talking about bees earlier there too. And if that's the case, then you're definitely going to want to check out this next Sunday edition of the show. We'll have Robin from Honey Girl Grows. We're going to talk all about native gardens, native plants, and pollinators. So that's just kind of an extension on what we were doing last week with our beekeeping weekend that we did there. And good to see you, Bowtie Life in the Garden. Excellent to have all of you here with me today. Thank you so much for joining the show here. And in just one moment, we'll be right back with our roundtable today. We've got Destin from Texas Garden Guy and Phil from Phil's Figs and their podcast, the Garden Party Podcast. So, all right, we'll be right back and we'll party it up. Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits. So, all right. What was your best plant this year? Definitely jump into the comments there as well. Let us all know about what you've had growing on this year. Lots and lots of good stuff growing on this year. And for me, I'll actually just say that my best plants and my best ones that did this year were actually ones that I don't really eat that much of. I do more sharing and growing them for fun and handing out to friends who really do love eggplants. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll enjoy a little bit more of them, but eggplants are just really one of the coolest garden plants there are, in my opinion. So I love growing them and growing different varieties each year to try them out and all of that. And yeah, they really did great this year. I had a lot to give away. So yeah, definitely let us know what plants grew best for you in your garden. And all right, it's time to get moving on today with the show, with our Sunday roundtable. So, all right, everybody, let's welcome to the show. We've got joining with us here, Destin Noaks from the Texas Garden Guy. And
what is going on?
Phil from Phil's Figs. Hey, how's
what
it going,
up,
guys?
Who let Destin in here?
Who let this guy? Right on, guys.
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Oh, great. We're
Great.
having a second summer right now.
Yeah,
Here in
that's
Wilmington,
exactly
North
how I feel
Carolina.
where I'm at too, for sure.
I thought it was fall. What happened?
I know, and everything just turned right around, didn't it?
Everything
boy.
did.
Mother Nature, you can never trust her.
Right on, right on. Well, as I was telling Phil before the show here, is like, I invited Destin back on and everything. I was like, man, I got to get Phil and get these two together because you guys really do a great job with your Garden Party podcast. I really love watching what you guys do there. You guys as well get some really great guests and have such really great conversations. So I was like, we got to get these guys together here for our Sunday show. And I'm so glad we were able to make this happen this weekend.
That means so much. Just because, like, I think Destin and I say this like every show, but it's like it's as much fun for us as I hope it is for everyone else. Where like we just love getting together and talking about gardening and having just like a group, a center place that we can all just like communicate. And I learn so much from the episodes, and which obviously is just why I like your channel, Enoch, because it's like. Just more of the love of like sharing gardening insight.
Just like we say right at the top of the screen there, we're growing community through gardening.
Yes.
The gardening community is really just one of the more awesome places. The people are amazing. And each and every time I, get to talk to someone new from the gardening community, it never surprises me how awesome the conversation is.
Hey, which one of us is saying your name right? Is it Enoch or is it Enoch?
You got it right, Enoch. I always say more of a Nick than a knock.
A Nick than a knock. I got that.
I always thought it was Enoch because it sounds like very biblical and like like if you're a person in charge, you want to be an Enoch. But if you're just a dude in the garden, be an Enoch. That sounds about right. Yeah. I was making sure I got it right. Okay, so Enoch.
It really is either way, and it's just about how you see and are used to that sort of name. It's pretty unique in a sense. So I get a lot of that. In fact, it's probably the more go-to is people saying Enoch versus Enoch, but it's just the way. That's just the way I've kind of gone about saying it myself. So.
For sure.
So like, it never really bothers me at all, in the long run. But
having a name like Destin, I get Destin, Dustin, Austin, Justin, every single name you can possibly think of, and I respond to everything. I just respond to everything. Like, yeah, how's it going?
Right. Yeah. How about Phil? You get any alterations on Phil?
No, I think people sometimes look at me like with a Paul, but here's the thing: Phil is the most. Say this a lot. It's like one of the most common names in the Western world. So like everyone knows a Phil, but there aren't that many. So it doesn't. They more butcher my last name, which is DeAngelis. Or here in Italy, you say D'Angelis. Yeah, but
D'Angelis.
An Italian name.
Yep, you know it. If you ever watch The Sopranos, it's the wife's maiden name.
Oh, is it really? Oh, right on.
Yeah. They use the DE instead of the apostrophe.
It translates to walking with angels in Italy or something like that, right?
Of angels, yeah.
Of angels. Phil the angel. Oh my goodness. Oh, sweet so angel fitting. Phil.
Oh man. Enoch, you brought a lot of energy to the table today. I hope we apologize ahead of time.
Oh,
that's great. I agree. That's what I said, man. It's time to party, man. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Oh, Serena's here in the chat. That's awesome. Hey, Serena.
Hey, Serena.
Yeah. Excellent. Yep. Serena's a good regular for us here as well too. But again too. So again, for anybody who might not know you guys, let's give you guys a couple of minutes here each to kind of let everybody know about yourselves, let you what it is you do, what's going on. We'll start with because we've had Destin on the show before. Let's start with Phil for sure.
Angels first.
Thank you so much, kind sir. No, my name's Phil from Phil's Figs. I'm a backyard gardener that has a huge love for fig trees, and I want everyone to experience what I experienced when I had my first fresh fig. And that's kind of the journey I've been down. I'm a propagation nerd, which is why I like fig trees so much. And with all the fig trees came with like, why don't I try starting a business? And why don't I try reaching out to people through social media? And dipping my toes in the water wasn't enough, and I kept having fun with it. And it's led me to where I am now, about almost 2 years into it. But yeah.
Man, that is just amazing. That's awesome. And again, too, one of those very similar experience for me. I didn't go completely figs, but dude, I'm
Right.
telling you, that first one I had just blew my mind and changed everything for me and
Doesn't it?
in my
It's like,
perception of what they were. Because here's the thing, I grew up, I was just one of those regular average kids growing up here in America. And when I
yeah,
thought of figs, I think of Fig Newton cake
yeah,
cookies, right?
right. And they're
And
fine,
boy, was I
right?
surprised when I ate my first fig, man. I'm telling you. It
You're
was like,
like,
wait
that's
a
why all
minute.
these people write about it and tell all these stories they've made in every religion, etc. It's like because you have the fresh fig, you're like, okay, I get it now. I get it now. How do I get
Yeah,
more of these? And that's kind of
yeah,
the segue.
exactly. And so now I think I'm up to like 3 or 4 different fig trees myself that I've got
Perfect.
going on. My
It's addictive.
Chicago fig, which I started with, is, starting to get all really big and putting out a ton of
Yes.
really just great figs when it comes down to it. My other ones, not so much. I got a couple off of them, and I can't remember exactly what the names of them are, but I got a couple of them off of it. But I'm sure in the next year that they're going to be bigger and ready to just really bear some amazing
They're
fruit
good about the
quality and everything.
3-year rule, like a lot of other trees are. So the sleep,
Yeah,
creep, leap. And by that leap year, as long
yeah,
as we're keeping them relatively happy, correct?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
once
I
you get
did
that
though. The
fruit, it's
one
awesome.
the newest one I have that I got is, just like what I would consider my first year, was just propagated from,
Yeah.
from the cutting, and it grew out really good and put out one little tiny fig on it. It was just
Count it,
really good.
man. That's
Just
like the best
count it,
part of
right?
figs. It's like they're not pawpaws. They're not like pecan trees. Like you don't have to wait 20 years. Like you could have a fig even in the first year. I generally guarantee like 3 years or maybe even 2 years, but like first
Yeah.
year, sometimes you're like, there's a fig, and you get to try it, and you're like, that was awesome. And you're like, let's do it again every year.
Yeah, yeah, they're just great. They're so great and literally one of my favorite fruits anymore, though, for sure. So, all right, Destin, how about you? What's going on over there?
Oh man, my name's my name is Destin Noaks, Texas Garden Guy, and I started my channel probably during the pandemic, probably in
Mhm.
2020, 2019, and I've been gardening for years. Just didn't do it on video. I took a job where I was working 26 weeks out of the year, so I
Mm.
had basically 26 weeks off every
Oh,
single
wow.
year. And I was watching a lot of these YouTube homesteaders, and I was like, man, I could definitely do that because I'm already doing it. I'm just not videoing it. So
Yeah.
that's when it all kind of started, and it's been a journey ever since. I met Phil when I started the Texas Garden Guy show, and we hit it off, and we took it to another level with the garden party. We're almost at our 1 year mark. We're almost at our 1 year mark
Oh,
for our
man.
first
Yes.
episode.
Did we do
And
it?
I think it's mid October. I think because we passed our anniversary for our first podcast together. It was in
Got it.
September, but
Got it.
our actual for the garden party, I think it's mid. I'll find the date. We will definitely celebrate. We will definitely celebrate.
Oh, man, I'm
And
looking forward to that.
yeah, and so I got a lot of inspiration from coming on shows like this. Where I met you and saw like the production value and how much time and effort you put into the show and everything, and
Yeah.
it really inspired us to take our podcast to the next level
Yeah.
and really put some time, a little bit of money, a little bit of energy into it, and take it a little more seriously. And it's been great. We got people that come back every single week. We're building that audience, and it's just been spectacular. And we even built Figtoberfest around it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have our big event. Phil's like my best friend, and I've never even met him. So this
That's cool.
so this weekend he's flying down and from North Carolina. We have our big Figtoberfest. It is this
Oh, yeah.
weekend, Saturday, October 5th from 8 to 1. And we're just going to talk figs. We'll have people from Texas A&M are coming out to talk about care, disease, stuff like that.
Oh,
And it's going
yeah.
to be a great time. We got a lot of sponsors that donated a lot of fig trees to give away, along with a bunch of mine that I got to give away. So it's a totally free event. Just bring a lawn chair. But it all started with the
Yeah.
podcast. It all started with this, It's been
Yeah.
it's been a fun ride.
Isn't it
Yes.
amazing where, like, again, too, and for one, I really kind of it's been really kind of great out of, one of the things that have come out of COVID and the pandemic and all of that was just all of these great new garden creators and people out there who are just, found themselves gardening and started sharing it all. And so it's really great to see everybody from, you know, that period, joining in with the gardening community. It's been really great. I started several years ago before all of that and everything, but that's just one of the coolest things about, you know, getting involved and doing this sort of stuff, and is, you know, just getting that connection with the overall gardening community. And, you know, like I said earlier, is just, you know, some of the most amazing people. And again, too, I'm a talker. I'm a person who loves to conversate about this stuff. And so this was just a totally natural fit for me to be able to take what I was doing with my gardening, for one, create a channel, and then, you know, I was out visiting people and doing all sorts of stuff like that. You know, it's a lot of feature videos we've done on our main channel page. And yeah, but again too, it was the pandemic and all, and people were just getting out there and doing Zoom. I was doing these Zoom meetings right at the very beginning of everything, as things were transitioning to that stuff. And it just kind of clicked to me. It was like, wait a minute, I'd only been traveling up and down the West Coast, visiting all these different other creators and gardens and all of that. And it was like, wait a minute, I can now reach out to anybody, anywhere. And that's where I found this StreamYard and all of that. And now we could produce this whole show. And that's just taking it to a whole nother level. And it's amazing.
It's
you
amazing.
know, where we get to go from being, you know, from just jumping in and being a little creative and doing some things, you know, when it comes to sharing our gardens.
The advantage of technology allowing us to go across the US and even across the world,
Yeah.
is like instantaneously picking up new pieces of information that you could apply to your home garden that you would have never reached before. If like everybody was having the same, yes, it's important that we adapt to the local climate that we have, but what if something new works that we haven't tried before? And all of a sudden, and how we incorporate those into our different soils, and seeing somebody do something that might work here, and then bringing that with you back to your own literally backyard.
Yeah. Amazing. Let's see here. Actually, I think you jumped in the chat there, but I wanted to kind of acknowledge Serena's question that she had here for Phil. When should fig trees be planted or pruned in Zone 7A? Central Oklahoma is where she's at there. How about let's take this question, and when is a good time overall just to be planting your fig trees and getting them going?
Fig trees, if you can grow them in the ground. And so like you're hitting, once you drop below Zone 8 and hit the Zone 7s and 6s, I wouldn't go too much below Zone 6 unless you do some winter protection with the fig tree. But if we're in the ground growth, but if you're Zone 7, you get some of the hardier varieties. Zone 8, plant them in the ground now. You know, dig that hole twice as big as the root ball, dump in some compost mixed with the native soil, and then plant away, matching that soil line with the same soil line in the pot. And so it's all level because they have shallow, wide-spreading root systems, and go from there. But it's a great time to put your trees in the ground now, especially so you're in the Midwest, so you get those giant temperature fluctuations from winter and summer. So like fall, the earlier in the fall you do it, probably the better. You're not going to see much growth of the tree, but it's all the work under the hood is what it's going to do in the fall. So when it wakes up in the spring, I say under the hood, like under the soil line, getting acclimated to its new system. So in the spring, you can just take off running with your fig tree rather than planting it in the spring and kind of babying it through the hot summer months.
Especially in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, that's great.
I try to do most of my planting in the fall. Like if I put a tree in the ground, go from a pot to the ground here in the Houston area, we always recommend the fall. You know, any kind of tree. You know, just because our summers are such a wild card that we don't know if it's going to be wet, we don't know if it's going to be dry, we don't know if it's going to be hot, we don't know about hurricanes. You know, you're not getting hurricanes in the winter. You know, there's people who plant trees in the spring and we get a hurricane and now their trees are all, you know, bent over and stuff, and plant them in the fall gives them a chance to develop those roots and really anchor themselves all winter long and develop those really awesome root systems. So I can't recommend enough planting in the fall, at least in the lower zones. I know for places up north, they may be a little bit different. But for us down the south, and well, I mean, I say the south, you're in Zone 8, right? Right, Enoch?
I'm in 8B there in Southern Oregon.
Yeah, I always end up saying like the north or whatever, but it's really like a U.
It is kind of, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a hard U. Not even. It's kind of almost like a J. backwards J, because you guys, we had Tasha from, she lived on
Right
Vancouver
there near
Island.
you.
Yeah.
She was way up there, and she was talking about they have palmettos and stuff in British Columbia, and I was like, holy cow.
Wow. Yeah, again, too, there's just so many things you wouldn't think that you can actually grow in some places too. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, so again, too, Destin mentioned here, and I was talking to you also, Phil, just a little bit before the show about this too. So how's everything going there? You're in North Carolina, and as everybody around the nation here probably knows, you guys probably got hit with probably one of the biggest hurricanes I think I've ever seen in our lives, right?
Inland too. That's the thing. It went right through, lit up Florida, barreled through Georgia, and then I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. Like, I am where most hurricanes just like make landfall, impacts, lots of rain, what have you. And we've had so much rainfall since like August, and so I was like, no more rain, please. But this one went into the Panhandle of Florida, and like, I feel bad. I was talking to our buddy Josh, the plant techie, and where he is outside Charlotte, like tons of rain, power outages, and you had a good reminder too, because we have some other gardeners, like our friend the Mocha gardener up in North Carolina, like all those inland mountains and mountain towns and great homestead areas are flooded, tons of water up there, and it's really bad. And I think the storm, I looked at a map and it like reached from North Carolina all the way to like Arkansas. So everyone felt this one.
That thing was just so wide. In fact, it was like, I think like they were showing like averages of how much distance wide most of those size hurricanes are, and that one was like well over 100 and some more miles wide than the average of those hurricanes. It's crazy.
We actually had a hurricane right before, a tropical storm, and it grew so quickly right offshore that they didn't even get a chance to name it. It's like retroactively tropical storm number 8. And it had an acute, so we were really needed a break here in Wilmington, because down in Carolina Beach, which is about 40 minutes south of me, I'm now outside Wrightsville Beach area in Wilmington. They had 20 inches of rain in like 12 hours, 14 hours. And we had 4, and I'm over by the airport. And so because of that tight band and all the way inland, my friend, the millennial gardener, got smoked by that storm too. And luckily he was further enough inland, he didn't get banged up so bad. But it's crazy what these storms can do. So everybody got wet this year on the East Coast.
Yeah. Even 4 inches is a lot of rain. If you're getting that, especially all at once like that, that's pretty crazy.
For them to have 20, it was like instantaneous.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Unbelievable. Yeah, some of the pictures and video and stuff I've been seeing out of that's pretty crazy. And then I was reading, and I don't know if it's developing quite yet, but I think they say that there's another one kind of on its way, possibly.
There's one in the Gulf that's possibly forming. Because here's the thing: I look at in my other job, I do coastal geology, and then I nerd out over like climate maps and things. And so I look at the European models and I look at the US models, and when they all line up together, that's a bad sign of how accurate it is, because that's a good sign that that's exactly what's going to happen. There's another system in the Gulf.
Is it Joyce? Joyce?
Is that next in line?
I think so.
Oh, Joyce. Oh my.
But a lot of this is what happens, and the tomato season gets messed up big time, even the second go around, because you get irregular watering, right?
Yeah, that's just too much water for them, for sure.
Too much water, and irregular watering is what I learned, right? So it was like dry. You got to keep up with them, and then it's like, wait, now it's too wet. Everybody gets stressed, and they whine and they complain, and
and blowing up, because tomatoes will drink as much water as you can give them.
Yes.
And they'll just blow up and start cracking and doing all that sort of stuff.
And same with figs. My figs have been exploding, so I'm out there picking them early. I don't want to, but
I've had them explode. Yes,
because the figs will explode on you too with too much rain.
Oh wow. Wow. And you, Destin, also had a storm not too long ago as well through that area, didn't you? Because I saw some video and some things you were talking about. Your garden looked like it got hit good.
Dude, that wasn't even that bad. That wasn't even that bad. It was pretty wild. That was just a category 1.
Oh wow.
The one that went through. So the one hit me it was the Monday morning after July 4th weekend, which was super early in the hurricane season. And we're from Houston. We're used to this. We're pretty much used to it. And then right after that, Hurricane Beryl went through Louisiana right there in Baton Rouge. And I literally saw the aftermath of that as I was driving to Alabama for the Fall Garden Festival. And then we hear about this one right there in Phil. It's just been crazy. Everybody's getting it this year. And I think a lot of people that just moved to our areas are a little surprised, and maybe they'll go back to California, you know? You know, you never know. Like no, I don't understand. This is crazy in Texas. We got to go back. But you know, it's just the way of life here. You get to go with the bad. You get to go with the bad. You go anywhere, there's going to be natural disasters anywhere you go. Whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes, flash floods, global warming,
forest fires, earthquakes.
Yeah, it's no matter where you go, you can deal with it.
Yeah. I was down in Southern California for the National Heirloom Exposition a couple of weeks ago, and was staying with a friend out in Malibu, and was at the closest of the epicenter of an earthquake than I've ever been. And that was because I was right on top of it, because the epicenter was right there in Malibu, and that was pretty wild. Luckily, there wasn't any damage or anything. But for us up here in Southern Oregon, you know, storms and things like that aren't as common, and that sort of stuff. Maybe a little earthquake here and there, but what we deal with all the time, and because of a lot of the climate change and all of that, is, you know, we're getting more extreme heat through our, you know, late spring, you know, which is really just an early summer for us, and it just really starts heating up, and things just dry up like crazy, and we start dealing with those wildfires. So we get tons and tons of wildfires and tons of smoke. And I live in this valley, and it's a round valley. So it's like a big, huge bowl. So when any fire happens in Northern California or east of us, you know, that stuff just blows right in and fills it like a cereal bowl of milk. So if you get up above it, you get up above. We have a peak up here that we hike up to, and you get up above it, and it just looks like, you know, like a whole bowl full of soup or something of just nasty smoke. And it'll stick around for weeks and weeks too. We had a good month or so of it this year.
That can't be healthy either.
Oh no, the air quality index, or whatever they call it, I mean, just skyrockets. And it's just, you know, that's when, you know, you got to start, you know, hopefully getting some of those really good masks and stuff that you can wear if you're outdoors, doing things outdoors and all of that. And really, ultimately too, those things that sort of situation is really bad for us, but ultimately, as I've found over the years, it's actually not that bad for our plants and our gardens and all of that too, you know, especially during that hot part of the season. It helps give some sun filtration, so, you know, our plants aren't being bombarded with total, you know, full sun. As full sun isn't like, you know, we can get like Arizona or you guys down in Texas, you know what I mean? And that's just a bit too much for a lot of plants sometimes. So it's helpful. And that, you know, it's also the carbon dioxide and all that sort of stuff that the plant loves itself too and gets on. The only real problem is the sediment that falls down and just accumulates on all of your leaves and all that sort of stuff. And it starts creating some chlorosis and all of that as well.
I didn't know when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in Alaska in Anchorage, and I didn't realize that Alaska is like they get the most earthquakes per capita, like through anybody else. It's some people might not know this, but like Alaska, all the islands, it's surrounded by volcanic activity.
Oh yeah,
and so you get a ton of earthquakes. And there was an eruption right up there when I was there, and I think it was really really far away.
Yeah, the Aleutian Islands.
Yeah, the ash covered all the snow. It was all nasty. It was gross. I had no idea. Hey, real quick, you said you went to the Heirloom Festival. Did you get to meet the world famous Ryan, the Baker Creek hobo? Did you met him?
Yeah. Ryan's actually I've met him a few years back and all of that. He's a really fun guy. In fact, I just did after I got back from the expo, we did a kind of special live stream where I did a bunch of interviews and everything, and I got a fun little interview with him. And in fact, he's gonna be on the show here probably in a few weeks as well too.
Nice.
Put it in a good word for us. Put it in a good word for us. I've been trying to reach out.
I watched your recent live stream, and I was like, oh my, I'm gonna have to get the.
Oh my goodness!
I'm gonna have to help fix that situation.
Let him know
Destin.
let him
Destin.
know. Let him know we're not making fun of him. We whatever he's doing he's doing it. His videos are hilarious. Like we love his videos.
They're engaging, they're like fun, and it reaches like a wider audience, and it just is like anyone can garden, and it's so inviting. And so
yeah.
And he's really that guy in person as well too. He's just a fun guy. He's fun to talk to, and just in that sense as well. And again, too, really, I think in some way really help lift up Baker Creek's social media content and all of that
for
as well,
sure.
too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just again too, really fun. I can't wait to talk to him and all that. But we did do a little interview with him, and actually I also did a couple of like live streams from the exposition as well. One of the ones I tried to do at the end is live stream the very end of the show. And he was in that as well too, because I started the live stream as we were hanging out. I'm like, oh, I got to get this going, and he ended up climbing their big famous squash tower and all that.
Yeah, how does that not fall over? How do they keep those? Super gluing them all?
In fact, that was kind of one of the funny things that happened in that live stream is that because what they do at the end of the show is all of the produce and all of that's around the show, whether it's in the exhibit hall or out there on the tower or around the show itself, all kind of goes for sale, because they collect the National Heirloom Exposition is pretty much, it isn't officially, but it's pretty much a nonprofit. Every bit of money that they raise from that exposition goes to garden school programs and all of that. So they sell off all of their produce to raise money for all of that as well too. And I was telling Riot, I was like, oh, I'm gonna, because I was showing all of that as they're pulling it all off, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna give away the Squash Tower secret. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, but I'll tell you all the secret. It's hay bales.
Oh, okay. Well,
I saw that. I had to look it up. It's like, oh, it's a pyramid. Got it. It has to have some sort of three-dimensional structure underneath it. Yes. Otherwise, you got a really impressive. Whoever builds that is really good at Tetris.
Yeah. So they're about to do their fall festival. They're out in Missouri right now, and I just saw that they put a post of they're doing it even bigger. So it's like the biggest squash tower that Baker Creek's ever done and all of that. So
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
They grow a lot of stuff out there. They grow a ton of stuff out there.
That is probably one of the coolest features, and I've got to get out there sometime. They've invited me a couple of times to get out there, but at the Baker Creek facility there, they have a ton of greenhouses, just big, huge greenhouses where they grow and test most everything that they, that they're doing for seeds and all of that. I mean, not everything. There's things that are grown elsewhere as well too, but a lot of it. And I just can't imagine how fun that would be to just walk through those greenhouses.
Oh yeah. That's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, let's see here. What was it? Oh, I was just going to say, you mentioned just a little bit ago too, that you've had on the show, Ashley Thomas, smoker gardener.
Yes.
Also a great friend of ours as well. And just amazing conversation. And I just thought I needed to mention that too, because we do a book of the month club for our Let's Get Growing show that we do every third Sunday of the month. And Ashley's book, How to Become a Gardener, is this month's featured book. And we'll be having her back on the show for Sunday, October 20th. So,
oh, nice.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I need to reach back out to her and get her back on sometime. I forgot about that. Yeah. Thank you so much for reminding me. Yeah. And we even had your good buddy, Charles Malky, on too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Charles on recently.
He was really cool. He was really nice.
Yeah, and he's probably one of the huge. I'll just say this: I met Charles just kind of on a whim when I was on a visit down in Los Angeles, and I had a bunch of different people that I was visiting and doing videos with, and one of those people canceled on me kind of last minute. So I was just kind of like, what am I going to do? I got nothing going on this afternoon. Let's see if I can't reach out to some of these others that I had kind of on my, my other list, that possibles for the next time or whatever. And it was he was doing this garden. He was teaching some gardening at this organization called A Million Drops, which was a place for like houseless people and homeless and in Los Angeles and Hollywood and that area there. And so they had this really cool area where they were just growing this cool garden and everything. And I was like, man, I need to reach out to this guy and see if maybe we could do a little thing on that. And so I just sent him a message, and he was there like maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and we hooked right up. And, you know, he took me out to lunch. And I mean, I literally, this is when my channel was first started, and I maybe had 300 subscribers on my channel, but that guy treated me like I had 1 million.
Yeah.
And it was just
cool. Like, dude, he's so great like that. And he's been in the game for so long. I remember when I was getting into gardening like 12, 13 years ago, as like with like a little garden in Cambridge, Massachusetts, when I was working for a company there. And he was he was out there, you know, and it's so cool. It's so cool to see that still going on.
You guys got to get affiliated with the IV Organic and all of that as well too.
I am. I got if anybody wants IV Organics through Phil's Figs, Phil 10.
Were you on the last affiliate call
back in May?
Were you on that? I'm sure.
Yes, I was. I got to introduce myself. But then we had a garden party episode, so I had to jump off early.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I do remember now.
I remember now.
Really fun. That's one of the fun things that he does, you know, and they do. And I don't know of anybody else who does that sort of thing, is gets all of their affiliates together, and which are a lot of content creators and all of that, for a really cool big Zoom call that we get to go on a couple times a year. And that's really fun as well too.
It was really fun. We got to he was basically like just being the fascia and connecting everybody. I'm like, he's like, how can we help each other all the time? What can I do for you? And it was very like, it was inspiring to come from that perspective towards others. So that was the one thing I took away from Charles, is like, how can I embody that? How can I help others that same way?
And again, just him and his wife is amazing. His kids are awesome. They're really a family company, you know, that, you know, people might not think of. IV Organics, or I think it's Isabel and I'm gonna mess up the other name, but it's his kids' names, IV Organics. You know, people think it's IV, like people think IV like a plant doctor or some sort of thing like that, but it's
that's what I thought too. Like, it's
like actually IV is the first initials of each of his daughters.
I think he told us that on the podcast. I think he mentioned that. I forgot about it, but I think he had mentioned that. Yeah, he sent. Well, whenever he sent me a care package, he even sent me some fig cuttings, and I even got I got a couple of the Fig Hunters varieties, and I made sure to put them on their IVO for make sure I remember those are from Charles. And he's a really nice guy. I love Charles. He's a super guy.
Yeah, and he touched on a huge piece of figs. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
He touched on a huge piece of figs that I love to talk about, because like there are similar figs out there, but some have such a rich provenance of where they came from that like. And every fig tree that's in the U.S. has a story, right? And like including Charles, he has a fig tree that I think he called like Grandpa Simon's, where his grandfather found an awesome fig and brought it back, planted in California, because it was like his favorite one that he discovered, and grew it from there. And like basically every fig has that story.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, he was the first one I got to visit early on too, when I got to visit his place and his little backyard orchard he got, and that's where I learned all about the fact that you could multi-graft trees and his fig trees and all these other trees that you have, like with 5-6 different types of figs on them, and
a Frankenfig.
And you know, and the different I think different avocados. He had a whole bunch of different really great stuff that I was just like, wow, that's amazing, and that's so full of just a bunch of great knowledge when it comes down to it. And when I was thinking about starting this show, I was like, I was thinking like, well, we need to get a couple sponsors or get someone to come, you know, to be on the show. And he was the first one I thought. I was like, man, we got to have Charles and IV Organics involved with what we're doing. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Let's see here. Serena always has the great questions. I want to drop in real quick as she dropped this in here too. Again, Phil, you get all the good questions about the figs here. Do fig trees require a specific pH to do well? And if so, what should it be?
They actually like a more neutral soil. So don't put them near your blueberries. They like more of that 7. And if you have acidic soil, I even do this. If you're making soil with peat, like I just do a ratio. I think it was like a tablespoon or a quarter cup to gallon per gallon of peat in your soil mix of garden lime, because garden lime will bring up that pH for you, that calcium carbonate. And so there's dolomitic limestone, it'll put magnesium in there as well. There's a chemical exchange during its rock formation of dolomite where magnesium gets in there. So that garden lime helps with that as well.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, right on. Oh, and Adam, actually, nice, great. He got me there. Isabel and Victoria, IV Organics. There we go. Right on.
No, I think we need some of these. I think we need some admins for the garden party. I think we need some of those in there for our podcast.
Yeah.
Do some fact checking for us.
We are very, very blessed with our facilitator and our admin. Jay's amazing with all of the links for everything throughout our show, and Adam jumping in here and there as well too. It's really great. When you got a good show like you guys got, you should have some folks helping you out there as well too.
We should probably look into. I think Craig is a #1 fan of Craig. We're talking
Craig.
to you. Craig, you want to be an admin?
Shout out to Craig. Serena, if you want to do that too, Serena, let us know.
That's right. And yeah, you definitely got to recruit some folks every now and then as well.
For sure, man.
I also got to put some more plants in my background. Like Enoch, you are just killing it back there, man.
Oh yeah. That's one thing, I got to have.
Are they real though? Are they real? Are there any fake plants behind you?
Destin?
I will admit, I do have 2 fake plants. I do have 2 fake plants, but they have a story behind them. The 2 fake plants are actually so the pothos I have right behind me right here. Yeah, I have had, and I think I mentioned and talked to Destin this when he was on the show last too. I've had that for since 97, I think, is when I got that. Wow. And I got it out of a restaurant that was changing out all of their kind of front of the house fake plants and real plants that they had and everything. And they had all these plants like dumped on this back dock that they had. And most all the real plants were about dead, and they had some fake plants there. So I grabbed these 2 fake ones, as well as just a little piece of that pothos, and it's just barely alive with just this little bit on it. And here we are, 27 years later, and that's
amazing.
It's wrapped around. I think I think it's 40 some feet, maybe more on this side, and then it's actually starting to grow and get a little bit longer on this side, maybe about 25 on the other side.
25? Oh my god!
Yeah, so it's got 2 big long arms that come out of it.
That's awesome.
And so those fake plants that I have from the restaurant are up on here, and people can't see this on this monstera. Right behind the monstera is a nice 4 foot by 4 foot and a tall indoor grow tent that I have, and they sit up on the grow tent up there. So I do have some fake ones.
That's epic.
I've been wanting to redesign my studio. I don't know, Phil, how many times have I moved my thing around? It's once a month or so.
2 or 3. It was nice. I liked it when you had the bookshelf there, because then you could, when we had guests, you had the bookshelf just to be shoot. But maybe Trey might be on the other side of you.
Yeah, my problem is the window behind me. Sometimes I'll be in here editing. Usually I wait till later in the evening to come in and edit, and my wife is asleep, and my big German Shepherd will be sitting right here, I'll have my headphones on, and all of a sudden he'll freak out, and it freaks me out, and the window being behind me is freaking me out. So I don't like to edit in here anymore late in the evening. I get scared because someone could be just
standing right in your window.
Oh my god! This is what freaked me out. There's a new style of Instagram video that I've been seeing. It's been popping up in my algorithm, and I'll send y'all links. But it's this guy, and he basically creates a 60-second horror movie of someone in his house, and it's so intriguing. I watch, but it freaks me out because I see those images looking through my window at 11:30 at night when I'm doing editing. It freaks me out.
That's why I don't do horror, man, and those sort of things. No, I just don't.
Not at all. No, not at all.
I'm supposed to
you can't. Exactly, right? What are you to do? You're doomed at that point.
Yeah, you just gotta get that sage, burn that sage, and get out of there.
Right. Now, we knew Phil was coming and Phil was going to stay with us, so we got a new futon in here. I went to the store yesterday, and I wanted it to be like an Airbnb when you show up. So like, I'm going to have all the toiletries. So maybe if Phil forgot his toothbrush or whatever, I'll have everything lined out. But I was like, once he leaves, I might redo this entire room. And I love your setup. I get a lot of inspiration seeing stuff like from your page.
It's so cool.
And so I want a bigger desk, and I need like the wall to be the background so you can control the lighting too as well. It's kind of weird having that in the back too. So, and this is not a real brick.
That's not a real brick wall.
That's a curtain holding all my canning stuff. That's like jars.
No, it's
and
not.
jars.
This whole time.
Oh
that's
yeah,
not
dude.
brick.
Oh, shut up! You did not. That's not.
I
brick.
didn't know that. I didn't know that.
No way! It's been a year, dude. You didn't know that was.
It's really a curtain. Touch that thing. Show me.
What? It's got all the.
Oh my gosh! Mind blown.
It's got jars and can. You didn't
Mind
know,
blown.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I did not know that. Oh my gosh!
Clip that.
It is so great.
I haven't known that. Every Wednesday or Thursday, and still I did not know that. So it's a great curtain. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah,
you got to let Chip and Joanna Gaines know that curtain's legit.
It's the power of perspective, it's the perspective.
Yeah. So I used to do like just regular live streams with just myself for a couple of years before we started the show. We did what I called Wednesdays live thing that I did, and all I would do is back myself into the corner up here with a few of the plants that I had. So when we decided to do a show, I was like, I need a really cool set. I need him, and set it up and everything. And so we really got it really set up really nice and everything with all the plants. But
it's real nice
to have. Yeah, it's good to have.
Yeah, you're going on your show is what inspired me to go to StreamYards, even though I do get the black screen of death every once in a while. I get that little spinning buffer thing. I cannot figure it out, but it just being able to like share people's comments on and be able to stream to two different platforms at once is really nice. And it's been a game changer, I think.
Yeah. Although I am, and this is something I've been meaning to talk about too, though, with the show, is that I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to and I've been suggesting StreamYard to most people because I think it's amazing. It's great, but they just sold StreamYard a few months back to a whole nother company that's jacking up all the prices on us without even telling us about it. I'm lucky I just found out about this. So maybe it's a good thing I can warn you about this as well too, because they weren't actually planning on telling anybody. They're just going to start charging our cards this whole new price or whatever.
Wow.
And it's like I think it's more than double what they were actually charging before for it. And I'm just like, no, I don't know about this. I mean, all this stuff, I don't make any money out of all of this, so I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
So I might have to learn. There's another one called Restream I'm thinking about maybe checking out or something like that and seeing. I'm not too sure exactly what I'm going to do. It's either that or I'm going to have to start creating memberships or something and trying to find a way to raise some money so that we can actually pay for some of the things that we need for the show and all of that.
Riverside wasn't bad. Riverside was fine before. It just didn't have some of these features that I'm finding out my internet is too slow for anyway. So I may just go back to Riverside if that's the case.
Yeah. Well, if that is the case, I'm going to try a Restream. I'll tell you how that goes and all of that as well. And from what I could tell, Restream has a lot more features for less price. So it might be just the way I'm going to go anyways. I don't even know. So I've been kind of looking at it and checking out. I did see here Jay jumped to the comments before saying Enid can rent us out for facilitation and moderation. There you go. That's the way we can make some money to pay for our StreamYard.
There you go.
I love it.
I'll check out. I see Restream sent me to Streamlabs. That's what I found.
Streamlabs.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. I'm about to explore and see what the best option is.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at right now because that's not really. I just hate it when companies do that sort of stuff, or newer companies who buy out some other place and then they just totally change everything. Because the StreamYard owners and people who created StreamYard and everything, they were awesome. It was so easy. They had a cool group that you could literally go in there, and they were so attentive to any sort of situation that was going on, like your black screen of death. They'd have that fixed and figured out for you without a problem, and would talk to you. These new people, nobody can get a hold of them for almost anything.
No, and I have not. I've tried, and I have not been able to get a hold of them.
Yeah, yeah, and it might be just for that reason, you know, it might be just enough more than the price even, that I might think about that as well too. So, yeah, it's such a great thing. So, you know, it's what we've been able to do to create this whole awesome thing, and you know, and now it's just kind of like a bummer that they've had to go that route.
This is my internet. I was on Wi-Fi
yes.
for a while, and and the Wi-Fi wasn't strong enough, so I had a retractable Ethernet cable that I would go to the router in the living room while we were streaming, and then I'd reconnect it and then roll it up when I was done. But it didn't fix it. It didn't fix it. So, but yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. Jay put the link for the brick curtains down there.
I was just gonna mention that. That's how awesome our facilitator is here on the show. We talk about something, and Jay is right on it, and she's got a link for us.
Jay is auditioning right now. I'm about to steal Jay from me.
Watch it now. Watch it now. Jay is awesome.
My goodness.
I love what she does to help us out with this show. It's just really amazing.
For sure. Yeah. And I love the live stream model. What we do, I feel like doing more live streams nowadays is a really good way to engage. I mean, I don't think people realize how much time and energy goes into making like a video, like the film makes, or you make, or I make. You know, you shoot all day and you edit all evening, and it's, you know, it could be a week-long process. So just being able to hop on a live stream for like an hour or so is really nice. Just being able to engage and, you know, talk with your audience without having to like do a ton of editing. You kind of be more raw and more authentic. And I feel like that's a good thing to do a couple times a week. I do it 3 times a week now. I do 3 live streams a week now. I love it.
Yeah. And I've really loved the whole live stream, you know, just live streaming in general. Like I said, we did the one before the show and all of that. Just really fun, really awesome way to engage with everybody. And again, too, like you said, with the video editing, I love videos and putting out the videos and all of that. My issue with that is that I am not very savvy when it comes to like editors and all that sort of stuff. And I found a really good one years ago when I first started editing my videos. I used Filmora. And it was very simple, very basic, very intuitive for my abilities, and I've been using it for years, up until this last year. Well, I've been using the original version, is that I got, the Filmora 8, and they started changing it. Filmora 9, Filmora 10, Filmora 11 just started getting more advanced and doing more capabilities and all of that. And all that stuff was just over my head. So I stuck with the original Filmora 8. And this last year, they've stopped doing anything with it. You know, they can't, no tech support, nothing when it comes to that anymore. And it ended up having some issue that I can't use it anymore. So that's would have been one of my my live streaming has been kind of savior for my channel in a sense, because of the fact that I'm trying to relearn a whole new editing software and all that sort of stuff, so I can get back to editing up videos and doing that sort of thing. So again, too, it's one of the great things about being able to do this live streaming stuff too. So
I think the trick with editing is finding something that's ergonomic for your brain. So that's why I found a lot of luck with CapCut, because I'm able to like the nuances and how it behaves. If I'm just messing with it, I'm like, oh, it did what I thought I wanted that it was going to do when I tried this. Oh, it did what I thought it was going to do when I tried this. And all of a sudden, I was able to patch and edit together.
And that's mainly from your phone,
you're not spending so much time doing it, you know?
Yeah, that's mainly a CapCut for your phone, or is that a
desktop too? I use it for desktop
too. The desktop's really good. And the biggest win it has is like if you don't have a good mic setup or something happens to your mic, you can adjust the volume. You can do a voice focused, and it can dub out the other stuff.
Yeah,
and it's visual, so it has a little sound thing on there. So I was like, my last interview last post I did, Josh's mic was slightly off, and so I was able to clip it, and it took some time, but I was able to go through and pull his volume up to that middle line, and that was a really nice win. But it's very touch oriented, so I like it. I got into editing because I was like, let's go for it, because I used to do like ski videos and skate videos back in the day. And so I was sitting there like with old school stuff, trying to pair it together to like music and like whatever
Right.
I was listening to in the 8th grade. Right.
Yeah.
And now it's so much easier. But like, I'm like full circle, like, oh, these videos are editing the same behavior. And that's why it's been fun editing. I'm just not trying to do a big sweet jump off of something.
Yeah.
Well, and like you were saying, Phil, it's you mentioned music. It has commercial music use. Like, so if I go when I edit for videos for YouTube, I'm using that commercial use music, and it doesn't affect the monetization on my YouTube videos. So because I know people will pay extra money for just accounts for music, it gets really expensive.
Hopefully you don't run any issues with that. I did have issues. That was probably one of my earliest issues I had with Filmora, was they had that same sort of thing where they've got music and copyrighted music for them and everything, and you got full permission, with your subscription to them to use that stuff. But they'll also ditch some music here and there, and I just happen to have a track that I used for several of my early videos that I was doing that I ended up having to go and replace, because once they gave up that copyright that they had, we were no longer able to have it, and there it was stuck on these videos that are on YouTube for the lifetime of it all. And so every now and then, and I'm still getting them too, so I've gotten some videos too. I haven't got there that are like, oh, hey, wait a minute, you're using this song, and I have to go in there and replace the song or cut it out completely and all of that sort of stuff. But
luckily they allow you to get in their YouTube studio and actually edit it out a little bit, so it's not bad. It's not too bad. Or just take it out completely. You can just do that. So
yeah. So I've gone the route of just using YouTube music for everything that I do. So if it's on YouTube and they've got the license for it, then it's their issue.
Absolutely.
Not mine. The music and doing that stuff is really kind of fun. It makes for making fun videos though, right? Adding the music to it and helping you be a little bit more creative. That was one of the fun things I loved about creating those getting started in creating videos, was to be able to add in like all the different types of time lapses you can do, so you can show an overall bit of what you're doing in your garden without making people watch it in real time, so that you just drop some music behind it and have a little groove and listen and watch to what you're doing and all of that. And so again, I got to get back into getting my my videos going again too, because and I was just mentioning someone yesterday too, I've got a lot that are already in the can that I need to get done and get this new software learned so I can get them out, because they've been sitting for a while. And these poor folks that I went and visited and did some videos with and everything, been waiting and waiting for me to get these out. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry. If I was only a little bit more smarter on the tech end of those sort of things, I'd be right at it. But it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve for me.
Oh, for sure. I went to Alabama and did like 7 nursery tours along with like the event that I went to, and I had 3.5 hours of footage to go through, and it was like insane. So to break it up into different nurseries, so I've got like 5 more nurseries to edit. I just gotta find the time to do it. And then mix some other stuff in there with it. So, and Phil does. I mean, you still do all your stuff on your phone. I mean, that just shows you how.
I do it on my phone. My theme song when I open is me up against my computer, and I just like played some chords on my ukulele, and it's like done.
I love it.
Keep it simple. We got some good tech on the phones these days.
Yeah, in fact, going back to Charles and his daughters, Isabel helps him do a lot of the filming from the phone and all of that, and she does the editing as well, right there at the phone and all of that. And I'm like,
I'm so jealous of that.
That's crazy! What are you doing?
That's what I really
do. That.
That's what I really need.
What you need is the kids. The kids.
Recruiting your kids. My kids are 6, 3, and 11 months. So
you got a little while to wait.
I got a little ways to go.
They'll be editors soon enough.
Yeah.
Or they'll be gardening with me. Oh man, it's too much fun to have them out there with me. I get a fraction of what I want to get done, but at the same time, you see these when a kid's brain is developing. You see these moments of brilliance where they're like, "This fig isn't ready yet," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they remembered that after pulling off 10s of 20s of unripe figs getting latex over there. And I got the hose on their hands, and you learn, and like they're just digging in the dirt, and we would make like chocolate lattes, which is just like a cup of dirt, and
as long as they're not eating it, right?
No guarantees, but a little dirt's good for you. Get some minerals in there.
That's very true.
Right. That's right. It's it's not going to hurt, right? What does they say? God made dirt, so it's not going to hurt. Isn't that what we used to say when we were kids?
Dirt don't hurt. Yep.
Dirt don't hurt. Yep.
Dirt don't hurt. They're out there with me in their bare feet running around. It's like the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah, having the kids in the garden, it's something that I get to actually look forward to now. My kid, and I wasn't into, I mean, she's always grown up with me in the house plants and all that sort of stuff, but being an outdoor gardening or food gardening was something that, I learned a little bit more later on in life, in her life anyways, as well too. I think she was about 14 or 15 when I really discovered growing food. And this was my very first food plant I ever grew. I had a friend give me a cucumber plant that he didn't know what to do with, and he gave it to me. He's like, "You got all these plants. I figured you know what to do with this." And I was like, "This is a cucumber. I've never grown anything like that, that grows outdoors or for food before." And I put it out on the balcony in a nice pot and let it grow through the summertime. Took over the balcony. We had all these cucumbers, and cucumbers was my daughter's favorite. She loves cucumbers, so I picked some off, and we were eating these cucumbers, and I was like, "Yeah, can you believe I grew this?" And she couldn't believe it. She's like, "Dad, you really grew this?" And I was like,
"Isn't that cool?"
Yeah, I couldn't amazing. And that just started everything for me.
Yes.
That moment. It's like I always think about Castaway when he makes fire. Yeah. He's like, "I have made fire. Yeah, I've done it."
That's
exactly. You're sitting there like, when you grow your own food, he's like, and it just grows, and then it just pops out, and you just eat it, and everyone's like, "Yep."
Yeah. So again, that was a little bit late for her, late for me as well too. So and I've been really blessed actually. Just this last June 28th, my daughter had my first granddaughter born.
Whoa! So, congratulations! You said June 28th.
June 28th. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great. I'm the 27th. That's a
nice.
Great time to have it's a great time.
I like the 27 too, because I'm a 27 in October as well, though. But
there you go. You're coming up.
Yeah, coming up.
Oh, you got a grandbaby.
Yeah, it's my first grandbaby. So I'm looking forward to exactly what you're talking about, Phil, is being able to raise her around the garden and have her in the garden space and all that sort of stuff too. Maybe not so much the extra time that my videos and all of that's going to take, and everything that it's all. But it's definitely going to be fun, and I can't wait to just kind of bring her up around that and to be able 100%. To do that, because again too, it's just amazing to watch kids learn and just find that fascination with nature and life through plants and all of that as well too. It's just
they will find
amazing.
It on their own 100%, and like they learn through touch and experience when they're out there observing it. And like, a 2-year-old is going to yank leaves off and break it, but that's all part of the learning part too. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they do much more damage than all the other dang things I got to deal with in my garden anyways, all them pests and people who walk through. I've got alleyways, so I grow in these alleyways and everything. So I got people coming through sometimes, so I have to kind of not worry about that stuff as much. But the kids running around grabbing and doing some things will be just fun to watch.
Yeah. Even this morning, I went outside to let my dog out for the first time in the day. And he walked outside, and I saw a mockingbird. He was up in the tree, and he was cracking me up because he was. I got one really tall O'Rourke fig tree, and it's over the top of my fence. He was knocking off figs into the neighbor's yard so that he can enjoy them behind the fence, and I'll leave them alone. And I was just like, you know what? I've harvested like 20 gallons of figs this year. I was like, he can have them. He can have as many as he wants for now. Come next spring, it's a different story. But like right now, it's too hot to pick figs. I'm tired of eating them. He can have as many as he wants, as long as I got those cuttings to propagate. I was like, he can have some figs.
That's the nature tax, right? So like, it's okay. They can have some, not all of them, right?
Exactly. Please, not all of them.
Please, not all. Squirrels in my backyard.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Freaking squirrels, man.
We got an Andy jumping into the conversation there saying, I'll be at Figtoberfest next weekend. Can't wait.
Awesome, man.
No way, me too.
Yeah. I got to get out there for maybe next year's.
Yeah,
be
so
fun.
we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, I don't even know what to expect. All I know is I'm going to have my
Bet you're all gonna have a
presentation, and
blast.
then we're just going to talk figs. And I think I can do that because that's kind of what I always do.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys are gonna have a blast. You guys are gonna have a great time getting to meet each other. That because, like you said, another fun thing about those sort of events and things like my visit to the Heirloom Exposition and things like that is these opportunities with these festivals and things, and is to get to meet each other, to get to hang out, and to enjoy whether it's a day or two or however long the event is and everything, that time together and learning and more so than what we get to do. These live streams are awesome, as we've talked about here, but in person's always better, right?
Oh yeah,
sure. It makes it real. It makes it real whenever you put the time, the effort, you spend a little bit of money, but like it's worth it in the long run, because when you start building an audience and start getting people that want to meet, to have like an event like this. And I do a lot of meetups and a lot of talks and stuff. Same thing with Phil. He does it. He was a huge celebrity at Figapalooza, from what I hear.
Figapalooza up in Greenville.
Oh, nice.
So it's really cool getting to meet people who enjoy your videos and get to answer questions in person, give out free stickers, and all. So it's just a good time. I love doing stuff like that. And for some people, they only can go, like they live out in the middle of nowhere, they can only go to one event a year. And when you find out like they came to your event, like it makes it really special,
Yes.
Yeah. That personal interaction is just really awesome. And it's what makes those sort of events really cool. And I always encourage people, if you got those sort of things, you want to get out and go to it, because there ain't nothing like hanging out with people who share, share an interest in a, overall a passion for growing and doing things that we do.
There's nothing like it, because how many conversations do we have with others with like, well, that's really cool you do that, and you start getting into it, and at some point, if they're not as into it as you see them kind of glaze over and move on, and you go to these festivals, and I just like, and you're an hour in and everyone is even more engaged, and you're like, whoa, this is really cool that you're still like, here we are talking like 300 level gardening stuff.
You also got to watch the time too, though. You got to watch the time too when you get in person with people as well, because I get in a conversation with folks and I'm like, oh my God, we've been talking for almost an hour here. There's so many things to see and other people to talk to at this event. But yeah.
Well, not even that, like not even just that. I've been working on a project in my backyard. I'm redoing the area right where my AC unit is. And I pulled up all the rock that was there. I, put down weed fabric. I worked into the late night last night. I had my light out. And was working after it was already dark. And this morning I was like, okay, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to, try to finish up as much as I can before the live stream. And I was up there getting the metal edging, and a lady pulled up in front of my house and and I had my headphones in, so I didn't hear what she said. She's like, and I was like, okay. So I walked down to the end of my driveway, which I live in the subdivision. It's not like a long drive. It's right there. And she's like, I follow you on Facebook. And she goes, I live across the street behind you, but I have a 2-story house and I can see your greenhouse from my bedroom. And I was like, well, I gotta be careful what I'm doing in the backyard now. No, but like she was really nice. She was really nice. But I was like, I really got to go, because I got to finish this before, when one, it gets too hot, and two, I got the podcast. So I was like, hey, thanks so much. I was like, I got to roll. Thank you. But anytime you see me outside, feel free to holler at me. So but we talked for a couple of minutes, but like when you gotta go, you gotta go. It sucks sometimes. There's never enough time. There's never enough time.
I know. And again, I grow along alleyways and all of that. My back and all of my gardens are almost pretty much public facing. In fact, we'll be putting the front yard. We'll be working beds into the front yard this next year and everything. So for years, I've just been used to people coming by all the time, but it's that same sort of thing. Anytime they come by and they're like, oh, wow, what you do here is so great. And then it's an hour or so later and you're like, oh, what? Sometimes really blown by, because it's so fun to talk to people and all of that. But yet to have a person, come by the place who's watched or seen any of the videos or anything. But I was surprised. I went and did a visit at my Southern Oregon Beekeepers Association this last week to do some things with some beehives, and the lady Leslie that was there to show me around all the hives and everything. We do the whole video, do all this sort of stuff and everything, and as we're getting ready to leave and everything, and she's like, I have to tell you, before I've been watching your videos for a while. And I'm like, oh, you should have started with that.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Yeah, it's great. And again, too, another fun thing about doing those events and everything too, because I've had several people at the Heirloom Exposition and everything say, I watch your videos and everything. And for someone who doesn't have that big of a channel, when it comes down to it, is really, really cool, to have people recognize you and know what you do and all of that. It's just really cool.
Oh, it really is. Well, and like even like Phil was telling me at one point, it's like, man, my channel is here, but I wanted to get here, and I was like, hold on a second, let's look at your videos. I was like, let's look at your videos and your views. And he had like, what are you at right now, Phil?
I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers.
So he's almost at 2,000 subscribers, but all of his videos get over 1,000 views. And I was like, dude,
great.
I was like, that's a great. You don't usually get that ratio. I was like, so it's. And a lot of times the immediate growth isn't always the best growth anyway when it comes to these channels, because that means everybody just followed you off this one video. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're building an audience who's engaged and watching it. Like I just hit 17,000. Dude, you think I get 17,000 views on every video? No. So it's
thank you.
Look at that. You just got 17.
Yeah, I just
now here's the thing. You remember you were on last time. And I told you, I says, what you do is so great, and you guys are really awesome at what you do. You are going to pass me up before you know it, and you did.
Oh, did I?
How about that?
How about that, man? And well, it's inspiring because the gardening network is so cool, because guess what? Everybody has. Most people have, and if they don't, you try to support them the best way they can to find a gardening space. And I was talking with Janie and Dig, Plant, Water, Repeat. And the last time I spoke, I was on her podcast, but before that in the fall, I was like, the last time I spoke with her, I think I had like 500. And so that was less than a year ago. And
dude, that's amazing. Less than a year for me. Like I said, I've been doing this, I think going on 8 years here this next year. And it's just and when it comes down to it, ultimately I just enjoy what I'm doing and all of that, so I try not to think about or worry about what my subscriber numbers and things like that when it comes down to it.
If it affects one person, that makes the difference, that you've connected with somebody, sharing something that you love.
I have more fun, and I've had fun watching people grow from the very beginning of their channels. Like one of my dream guest I got on this year was Mark Valencia from Self Sufficient Me. And I've been watching him since he had less than 20,000 subscribers on his channel, and it's so thrilling and awesome to watch somebody with that kind of character and do what they do so well grow the way they do, and he was like I'm pretty sure the first gardener on YouTube internationally to hit 1 million subscribers.
I'm sure.
He's well on his way, I think, to 3 here soon. So, it's just so awesome to see that sort of stuff. And so I just get as much fun watching all of you guys grow and do everything as I do doing my own thing.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, man.
If you're not having fun doing it, it's not even worth it.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I'm all about the community, and that's one thing. If you watch this show, you watch my channel and all that sort of stuff. I'm all about the gardening community. I'm all about having fun and enjoying it, and us doing things together, and just sharing our knowledge and helping inspire folks to do things themselves. And when it comes down to it, that's the only outcome I'm really worried about.
Absolutely. It's just, and it's like so amazing to hear people who have connected with you or have connected with someone else through you, and then they go form their own relationships, and then it's like this greater spider network, and all of a sudden you circle back with them, I don't know, a year later, 2 years later, and you're like,
Yeah, I was just talking to Ryan from over at Heavenly Hills Homestead, and I was talking to him the other day, and he's like, "Oh man, I got to thank you so much for hooking me up with, let me know about the Texas Garden Guy and all that sort of stuff." And
is he not the nicest guy in the world? He's like the nicest guy in the world. Oh my god,
dude, he's getting too much rain. All his pumpkins are exploding.
Right.
He just won a record though. I saw it on Instagram. I shared it.
Okay, good.
Story. He went to the state fair and won something.
Getting him pulled in time. Yeah.
He doesn't have like the Guinness World Record for something specifically, but he has the world record for the most state records, or so for the most records or something. Yeah. Something incredible.
It's so cool.
So we're going to be doing here in a couple of weeks a weekend, kind of try to do some themed weekends throughout the year, like we did our beekeeping here this last weekend. But we're going to do giants in a couple of weeks, and for our Saturday show, our featured guest is Travis Granger, the winner or the guy who broke the Guinness Book of World Record last year with his giant pumpkin at 2,000, almost 700 pounds or something like that. Just a monster that he called the Michael Jordan, I think it was. So he's going to be joining us. Actually, he'll be on the road with his pumpkin that he's going to have weighed this year as he's on his way down to Half Moon Bay, California, where Safeway does their big weigh off that they broke the record at last year. So that's going to be fun. We got another great world record holder for there it is.
Like is that a pumpkin? Holy cow! Or is that a Fiat 500? Is that
dude? Some of the crazy stuff that Ryan was saying about that stuff, he was saying they can consume like 200 gallons of water a week.
Yeah, and grow like just 80 some pounds a day.
Right.
Yeah. My number one. I was asking him if you can eat them, and he said, "Good Lord, no! Don't eat that pumpkin." He was like, me. You will spray so much stuff on these pumpkins. He goes, "Good Lord, don't eat it."
No, exactly. Yeah. And so we're going to have for our Sunday show, Ryan and Jason Covey will be joining with us to have a discussion with him. And
Jason who?
Covey is a friend of Ryan's as well, too, who's, I guess,
fantastic.
really knowledgeable about growing giants and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to pick his brain about how they do all of that sort of stuff and break these records and everything.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, that's going to be a fun weekend coming up as well, too.
That's something I could see myself getting into when I get older, like just getting into competitions, trying to grow the biggest pumpkin. Or down here in Texas, you have to he was saying what they call them, honeydew melons or whatever, or cantaloupes. He said that I could probably grow the biggest one down here. He said the world record was broke like 2 years ago in Kansas, and he's like, I think you could do it in Texas. And I was like,
I just saw his clip of his one he found the other day. So that would be great. Yeah. Let's see here. I want to jump in here. There were a couple of questions that came through just a little bit ago. Sure. Conversation's going so well, everybody. Sorry, we will get to your questions here. Again, Serena's always got great questions. What does ash do for your soil pH? We were talking about pH there just a little bit ago. You guys know about what ash is going to do?
It depends. I don't know a lot about it. It kind of makes me think about I just spread a bunch of azomite over my fig trees.
Yeah.
And that's igneous in nature too, because that's from previous volcanic material. I think
isn't it and again too, I'm not a garden expert, but wouldn't it make your soil less acidic? Make it a little more alkaline?
If you got to think
isn't that the direction it would go?
Yes, because you're adding those. They're not salts, but salts to your soil, and so you can bring up that pH and make more alkaline soils for sure.
They do add potash to soil blends and stuff like that, so that it's but is it potassium or phosphorus? I think it's one of those.
That's potassium.
Potassium. Yeah. So I guess it kind of have to depend on what kind of wood were you burning in the ash as well. I mean, in the fire to make the ash as well, right?
And what was emitted during those fires too? Yeah. So you got to think about that, or if it is volcanic in origin too, from an eruption, you had ash fall from the sky. You have to think about that as well. So,
or if you're burning trash or plastic, I wouldn't put that ash in the
right.
garden.
Yeah.
But I mean, back in like the 1700s and stuff, they used ash from their fires to nourish their soils, and so it's a very, very useful tool if it comes from a clean source.
Yeah. And definitely if you have a more acidic soil and you need to bring it down, bring the pH down a bit. But if you need acidic soil, say some blueberries or something, that's probably not a good idea as well.
Yeah.
Right on. And then we had a question here from Mr. McAnderson.
Oh yeah,
Martin. Okay,
Martinica ramata.
Yeah, he said that I got from Phil is looking great. Only 2 feet tall and starting to fruit. Should I let it continue?
Yep.
Depends where he is, but I would say go for it. Try to get as much growth as you can out of it, just because it's only 2 feet tall, and then let it slumber for the winter. As long as that wood is lignified on top from that new growth, I think it'll be fine through the winter. I'm assuming that you're in Texas. I think that's where you were from, and it should be fine through the winter where he is there. That's awesome. It's a beautiful thing.
Some fig trees just aren't big, like quick growers. Like I've got a native Texas and a white Marseille. They're not they're not fast growing trees like most figs, and those are some of the ones that I've been able to maintain as a single stem here in my part of Texas with our freezes and stuff. Most of the other ones I've lost, they've died back to the ground. But the white Marseille, the native Texas one I've got, have all, even the LSU Gold has maintained the tree main trunk. Most of them usually die back, but they just don't grow as fast either. So it could be something like that.
That could be a hedging tool, like because it doesn't grow fast, because it's more apprehensive about growing, then all of a sudden, because you have to understand, like figs have such a wide variety to choose from, and they do have behavioral growth. So like trying to do there are general rules, but there are exceptions, which prove the rule.
Yeah.
But so understanding which fig you have can help dictate. Like if you have a hardy Chicago, by all means grow it like a bush, cut it down to the ground every year, let it shrub up. They actually benefit a lot from that because they're so precocious. They'll fruit early in their life, and they'll fruit early in the year, even if they get cut all the way back in essence of a rejuvenation prune, where some rejuvenation prunes for trees aren't going to work out that way. Like they benefit from it, but they may not fruit till later in the season. Like your late ripening varieties, like your Col de Dames, they're not going to ripen until late September, October anyway. And so if you rejuvenation prune, you may not see a fruit.
Yeah, good to know what the growing habits are for those. My Chicago Hardy, now, is that going to be the same for a container versus in the ground?
No.
Cutting it back and all of that?
No, because you have to be a little more protective if they're in a container. So you have to be cognizant once they start hitting like below freezing, because it's not the roots, the roots are exposed. And so you have to be really careful. Fortunately, here in 8B, I'm in an 8B as well.
Yeah.
And we got bumped up from 8A. But I would say, like, I leave a lot of my potted stuff out there unless there's like some freak cold day that's going to breach that 8B marker. So if it gets below 15 degrees or something, then I was like, I'd be out there freaking out. I have a 10-foot plumeria that I have to keep alive in my greenhouse. So
I don't know if I've seen 15 in years though too, so hopefully that isn't something I'm gonna have to worry about.
Feel free to bring me a cutting of that, by the way, Phil, if you want to.
You got it. I have another one, my pink Veracruz. I have some cuttings of because it got knocked over in a storm and they're out sitting outside. So
I don't need more plumerias, but I will definitely take one for sure.
Needs and wants are different things.
Right. Well, and like you were saying, Phil, about leaving them out. Like I don't protect any of my figs. I leave them if they're in a 3 gallon and up. I leave them out because I sell fig trees here in my area, and I only want to sell fig varieties that I know people can grow in containers, and no one's going to take as good of care of their figs as I am. So I want to put them through a little bit of stress so that I know when I sell them to someone, they're going to survive. So any varieties that I've bought before and they didn't survive the freeze, I don't buy them again. I don't buy them again. All my mother trees have been through the polar vortex. They've been down to like 10 degrees here in Houston area, and they've survived. So
right on.
Mr. I'm more than also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, and we'll get on this. What were you gonna say?
Oh, no worries. I was going to say I nerd out too hard on some of the varieties that I got to keep the diva varieties, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, even the desert rose didn't, or the desert whatever, desert king didn't make it in a container for me.
Really?
Yeah,
That'd be a great choice for Enoch. Like anyone in the Pacific Northwest, grow Desert King.
The Desert King and
I've heard that one. I've got to get a cutting.
And Dalmatie or Stella. That works great for you guys up there.
Oh, you got any cuttings of those?
I might actually. I'll hit you up. Don't you sweat.
Okay.
I got this one. This one's going to Des. I got one I gotta send to Serena. And then I got you too.
Oh, perfect. I love it. Okay, so Mr. McAnderson asked another great question. You get all that, like I said, you're getting all the great fig questions here. And again, the names of these things, I received a, what is it, Tavout Jabout?
On accident. He's a fig wasp.
Somebody made that name up.
On accident.
Okay.
It needs fig wasp, which we don't have. Have you caprified figs by hands? Any tips?
Yes, you can. It's not easy. You actually want to use a syringe and you put the pollen in water, and then you drill 2 holes so that you can let it air out. But you need a male caprifig. So a Tavout Jabout sounds like it's a Smyrna fig. So there's like your 4 main types of figs. Your common varieties, which will self-ripen for you. They won't be fertile, right? They're parthenocarpic until they get pollinated. And then you have your San Pedro varieties, which the Breba crop will ripen, but the main crop needs caprification or pollination. And you have Smyrna, and it sounds like Tavout Jabout. That's correct.
Yes, Smyrna.
Yeah, it's a Smyrna. So for both crops, you would need that caprification. So you need a male caprifig in order to make it happen. And
because we don't have fig wasps in Texas.
No, I think you can. So like you got to get a fig wasp, or you get a male caprifig and harvest the pollen out of the Profiki, which is the first crop in the spring. And you take that pollen and you can put it in something and somehow get it through that ostiole into the fig after it's set, and then it'll ripen for you. So it's possible, but you're not. What's that?
You say somehow?
Somehow you can use so again, you take solution like a syringe and you can put it in there. This is how people have done it with hand pollination, and they've inserted into the ostiole and squirted it so that pollen hits the female flowers in the zirconium and it'll kick into gear on ripening.
Because figs are basically like an inverted flower, right?
Yeah,
correct. So it's an inverted cluster of flowers. So like inside, it's all hundreds of little flowers with a little fruit on the end of all of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I was doing research for one of my presentations on figs, it goes back to like Egypt back in a long time ago. They had people think of fig wasps. There's different species of fig wasps all around the world. I guess there was a fig tree in Egypt where the fig wasp was not around anymore. The fig wasp went extinct, and they found a way to manipulate it to ripen itself. But I guess they were poking it with a needle or something and manipulated the fig into thinking it was being penetrated by the fig wasp, and it would actually ripen.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Fig Hunter has a video showing how. I don't know. Do you have a video doing it, Phil? I know the Fig Hunter has the video because a lot of his.
I haven't tried it, and because I do have a caprifig that I picked up, but it hasn't given me the Profiki yet you best believe it, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to harvest those seeds and try to make a Phil's fig. Phil's fig.
Explain to me what a caprifig. Explain to the audience what a caprifig tastes like.
Oh, I don't know. I've never had a caprifig, but it probably tastes pithy and flowery, and you don't necessarily want to eat it. But the second crop is the Mayomi crop on male caprifigs can sometimes be edible.
Yeah,
it's not going to be like glorious, but it'll be jelly like.
But the first crop is all full of pollen, so it's just like you bite into it.
Don't eat that.
It's so gross.
Yeah, right on. Excellent. Well, here we are. It's already well over an hour now. We've been talking here. It's just so great. Again, like I said, you just get going and you start talking with some gardeners, and next thing you know, the whole show is about over. So right here, actually, you guys. Oh wait, we got another question. Oh, all right. You know what? Here, let's hold up. Let's give it another question or two, and then
You
We'll go
got it.
ahead and wind this down. Serena asked again, we were talking about the storms earlier.
Yes, we
Texas
did.
Garden Guy, did you get any rain or damage from the Hurricane Helene?
I have not. It didn't rain at all here in Houston area. I mean, it didn't rain at all.
I think that storm pretty much pulled any possible rain you could have into it and then threw it over Phil's direction, right?
Dude,
Yeah.
Thank God my fence would not have made it. My fence is barely hanging on from barrel. So it's holding on by a couple of 2x4s right now.
Wow. Right on. And Mr. McAnderson was asking again a little bit more. Can you caprify all figs, and is it
Yes.
recommended? Is it recommended?
People who have the fig wasp and have caprification occurring rave about how good the figs are when they get caprified. So if you can get away with it, by all means, go for it. If you only say you have a small tree and you have some really nice figs, you want to try to get caprified, go. I would say go for it, or you collect the ones that taste like they're already caprified. But it can only enhance the fig.
Right.
So is he asking about
it's a flavor.
If you would caprify a parthenocarpic fig?
Yeah, you can still do it. You can do all of them because it'll make those seeds viable in caprification.
Okay, but it'll make the fig taste better.
Yeah,
or like
this is what I've been told. Is that yes, it can get quite robust. So if you've ever heard of Figaholics, Harvey out in California, he has every variety under the sun, and basically they're all getting caprified and they look fantastic. And some of them look very similar, but I can only imagine that they might taste a little better just because they have that extra juice of pollination to help kick them into like maybe an extra gear. But it doesn't mean that like my Black Madeiras and Figo Pretos aren't going to taste amazing ripening on their own.
Yeah, right. Okay, and so let's touch on this too, the fig wasp. Can we explain that just a little bit? And so where is this going to be? I mean, you say some areas aren't going to have it.
Only California has a colony of it that live wildly sustainably. And they were introduced by the Spanish missionaries who also introduced the mission fig. And the fig wasp is acutely specific to the fig itself, which is so cool. And they're tiny. I think I forget the exact species name, but it's like Blastophagia, I think. And it's in the parasitic wasp family. They can't sting you. They can't do anything. They're itty bitty. And in fact, the ostiole when they're climbing into these female figs are so small that the wings actually snap off in the process. And the whole idea is that in the male figs is where the colonies live. And there's male and female fig wasps. The male wasps are born with non-functional wings. They wake up before the females. They impregnate all the females that are in the fig. Then they try to dig their way out of the caprifig to the hole, and they die before they make it out. The female fig wasps all wake up. They climb out said hole, already impregnated, and they go look for other caprifigs to start another colony. But they inadvertently will end up in female figs, where they will pollinate the flowers and they will get essentially digested by the enzyme. So by the time the fig ripens, there's no wasp inside. It's all gone.
That's what my next question was. Wait a minute.
It's all gone. The wings come off in the process of getting to that tiny ostiole. They're not apparently they're weakly put onto the wings. They're tiny little wasps. They're tiny. And they go ahead and caprify it. It'll swell after the enzymes are all digested, and you'll get this nice robust fig. But that is the life cycle if they make it into a female fig. Otherwise, they go back to another male fig and create a colony for the next season.
Wow. Man, okay. Go
I just dropped a cool video. It kind of walks you through like how the fig wasp works. There's some really cool videos. I think me and Phil were talking about it. There was some cool ones on TikTok or whatever. They like show inside the fig. It's pretty wild. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got to go check that out. It's just so amazing, that whole process.
But nature's amazing, and the fig is amazing because it has this acute relationship with an insect. Like, holy cow!
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, in the fig, Ficus species is a very broad species of plant. most figs are not even edible for humans. Most fig species out in the rainforest around the world, they call them keystone species in rainforest, because if that tree goes extinct, the wasp, if the wasp goes extinct, the tree goes extinct. If the tree goes extinct, the wasp goes extinct. And there's hornbills and all kinds of different animals that depend on these species to survive. And take one of those things out of the equation, and with all this deforestation and stuff that goes around the world, and it just destroys the entire ecosystem. So figs in the wild.
You mentioned that too. Yeah, Destin, that's exactly right. Like in David Attenborough's Planet Earth, like they highlighted like 7 primate species in one fig tree in the rainforest. So
wow.
There's something crazy like that, multiple species.
Yes.
So amazing. And more I get to learning about figs, the more and more I really dig them. It's just, again, too, nature in general is really awesome, and again, depending on what kind of plants you really enjoy growing in your garden and all that sort of stuff, you can find just as much awesomeness in those as well too. But it's great to see folks who have such an extreme passion for things and such great knowledge. And Phil, you really are just amazing with all the information you've got there.
Thanks, man.
Which is just really awesome. So and again too, getting a chance to have you guys here has just been really, really great to get you. Where we go? Destin disappear on us.
I was looking for a book. I can find it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That fig book I was telling you about, Phil. God's Wasps and Figs. It's God's Wasps and Figs. It's about 100, maybe 200 pages. It's really good. It talks about, conservation and, explains like the life cycle of like the fig wasp and their correlation. Yeah. It's called the God Wasps and Figs, I think. God's Wasps and Figs.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, Jay will probably be on it here in just a moment. And
no worries.
For everybody right there into the comments and all of that if they want to check that out. Because again, like I was saying there too, figs are amazing. Plants and nature are amazing, but it's also just really awesome, again, as we've talked about today, just really amazing and awesome to get together with folks who share a passion for growing and gardening and, no matter what it is that you really enjoy the most. But again, you guys, it's just been an amazing conversation today. I just really look forward to possibly getting back together with you guys again soon here and
for sure.
Continuing our conversation even more. And again, for everybody else who's watching today, if you haven't had a chance to check out Phil and Destin's Garden Party podcast, definitely go down in the links below and check that out. That'll be at the you guys send that out to both of your channels?
It's usually just on my channel. It's usually on the Texas Garden Guy channel.
It's on the Texas Garden Guy channel.
Yeah. So definitely go do that for the Garden Party podcast. Go and subscribe to each of their channels there, especially Phil's Figs. Let's get him growing too.
Yes.
And again, as I always tell everybody, go do that. Go and jump on one of their recent videos and go leave a comment. Go let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. And again, you guys, so much awesome talk today. So thank you so much for joining me and spending your time.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man.
You got it, guys. We'll see you again soon.
Yes, sir. Jay beat me. See you later.
Take care, guys.
All right. Oh. Let's Get Growing is sponsored by IV Organic.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with IV Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
Oh, yeah. I gotta remember to set that back right. All right. Again, what a great conversation there with Phil and Destin. And also, if you do go check out IV Organics at ivorganics.com, use our promo code GROW10, GROW10, to save 10% off of their 3-in-1 plant guard. You got to get this 3-in-1 plant guard if you don't have it in your garden shed. Definitely go get some for sure. And yeah, like I said, what a great conversation today. What an awesome show and discussion with the guys over there at the Garden Party Podcast. And definitely go and check the links below and go check their show out. Also, definitely, if you haven't checked out our show from yesterday as well, too, again, we're here Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on our Saturday show yesterday, we got to hang out with Wendy Fan from Wendyland again. Wendy was our very first guest on this show as when we got started last year. So it was great to have her back and catch up with her and talk about her recent visit to Vietnam and all the sort of different things that she has growing on, as well as we got to meet Leighton Morrison from It's All About the Biology. Another great live streams there. It's All About the Biology. So if you're really interested in soil science and, and soil is where really everything starts with our garden, this is what we really want to be paying attention to, because with really great, lively soil, healthy soil, we can have really great, healthy plants and ultimately great, healthy food for us as well, too, that we can harvest from our gardens. So definitely go back to yesterday's show and check that out as well too. I do want to mention that we are promoting and starting to promote our special Halloween Hangout live stream that we'll be doing on Halloween. While we're hanging out and passing out all the treats to the kids, we get to hang out together and watch one of my favorite movies and shows all together, The Little Shop of Horrors. This is a really great original 1960 Roger Corman classic of The Little Shop of Horrors. The one that they did in the 80s is great. It's fun. It's the one we all know. I love that movie. Rick Moranis, Steve Martin, all of them as well. Just a great one. But Corman didn't do his copyright on The Little Shop of Horrors from 1960, so we get it as public domain and get to watch that, and it's really fun. It's actually one of Jack Nicholson's first movies. And then we'll continue to hang out after that, after some discussion and all of that, and we'll watch a really great theater version of The Little Shop of Horrors. So you'll definitely want to go to our homepage here for YouTube, and we've got the stream all the way already set up there, and you can just click the notify button there so that you'll be reminded of our special Halloween hangout. And definitely want to come and hang out with us there. It's so much fun to just watch those shows and get the chance and opportunity to just kind of hang out together while, for me, I'm mostly just hanging out and, the kids in the neighborhood showing up here and handing out treats. So might as well hang out with all of you as well, too. So definitely do that. And as we mentioned, too, during our conversation there, we are coming up here soon in October, for October 20th, the third Sunday of the month, for our book club, our monthly gardening book club. And this month we are featuring Ashley Thomas, the Mocha Gardener's book, How to Become a Gardener. Really, really love this book. Really great. Lots of great information for the beginning gardener, and just a really great book, really great author. We really love talking with Ashley here. She's actually been on the show a couple times already. Just, and again, really fun conversation. So can't wait to get back together with her and our co-host, Mark Boucher Colbert, for our monthly gardening book club. And of course, we are here again, like I said, every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you'll definitely want to come and join with us next week. In fact, next week, we're going to be featuring an interview I'm going to be doing sometime this week here, as I'll be getting together with Charlie McGee from Formidable Vegetable. He's makes really great, fun and gardening educational type music and all of that. We had him on the show this last year. Just really great fun conversation. And this year we'll possibly get him to bring his instrument along and play us some music live on the show. So you'll definitely not want to miss that. And we'll also be joined with Alicia from Create My Garden on our Are You Following Me segment. So definitely come and join with us next Saturday for that great show. And again, for our Sunday edition of the show next week, we're going to kind of continue our kind of beekeeping kind of conversation we started with last week's shows with Robin Jones, Honey Girl Grows. But we're going to kind of base our conversation this time more on native plants, native gardens, and a lot of our native pollinators that are just really important to be thinking about when it comes to gardening. They are just really important to our whole ecosystem and everything. So we're going to just really dig into all of that as well with Robin. And just, again, it'll be, I'm sure, just a really informative and educational discussion with her to learn all about that, as well as I'm going to go and visit a local organization here in Rogue Valley. I had so much fun going and checking out the Beekeepers Association. I'm going to go visit an organization called the Pollinator Project Rogue Valley, and they are all about native plants and putting in native plants into your gardens, native gardens, and our native pollinators. So we'll have a little discussion with them as well about that too. So you won't want to miss out on all of our upcoming shows here on Let's Get Growing. And right on here. And I saw this question too from Serena, and I did kind of look this up, and I don't know what I can do as far as putting on live captions for the show. I wish I really could. I do know, and I saw that there are some sort of software that you can get for overall captioning for everything that you do watch. And I'd have to look up that just a little bit more. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. I'll continue to do some research and see if that's possible, if we can, but I'm just not too sure if we can do that or not. So yeah, so hopefully, we'll be able to have you anyways, or if you can't hear the show or that sort of thing, we'll hopefully, I don't know. We'll just see what we can do about that, and I'll look into it just a little bit more. But again, thank you all so much for joining with us today and being a part of our conversation today with Destin and Phil. And again, too, hopefully we'll see you again here real soon. And real quick before you leave, click that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the bell notification to be notified of our upcoming episodes, and definitely share with all of your friends, and follow all of our links down in the description below to all of our guests. And like I mentioned there too, just a few minutes ago, go and visit our guests' channels and go leave them some comments over there and let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. And if you want to continue the conversation here from our live streams here at the Let's Get Growing show on the Urban Gardener channel, you can go and check out our Urban Gardener community at appropriately named the Let's Get Growing group on Facebook. And again, the links down below. And this is a great place for you to go and share all of your gardens and garden pictures, videos, if you got any questions or anything like that as well too that you'd like to ask of other people in the community. Definitely come and join with us over there. It would be great to have you. So again, everybody, such a great week this week on the Let's Get Growing show, and so awesome to have all of you with us here. And again, like I said, every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And I'll see all of you for another great show this next Saturday.